All right, grasshoppers. We finally nailed it down. And yes, it's just me again. We may get Ron Grescher on. Obviously, a lot going on with the playoffs and everything. Ron and I are actually going down to the city today before the game to the NHL fan zone on 34th and 7th. So we'll be there. Mel, I don't know how much he wants to say, but he had some family issues, so he's out again. Some legitimate stuff. I'd love to give him a hard time, but I can't about this stuff. So all the best to he and his family. Our boy James Patrick, who's not allowed on the show anymore, has already won one award. He was named Coach of the Year in the Western Hockey League. So congratulations to him. I think that was mainly because of my making sure that happened, promoting that situation. It was all because of me. There's the power of this show. I got James Patrick, WHL Coach of the Year. His team actually lost in the Eastern Conference Finals to the Edmonton Oil Kings. So Edmonton had a really good team. James had talked about him before. Holy crap! Only Tom again. This Bill. He's just, it's. I know deep down inside he really has feelings for me. Like he really cares about me a lot. He just has a hard time expressing himself. So we'll work on that with Bill. We, in the past we've had the segment on the couch. We'll do that with Bill too. Get working on him. All right. So since we saw each other last time, obviously the Rangers won 6-2 in the first game of this Eastern Conference Final. That's not what I expected. I thought the Rangers would win. I think a large part of the Rangers played fantastic. There's no question. But Tampa has been off for like 9 or 10 days. They were off before that. So it's going to be a different game tonight. Again, I still am totally confident in the Rangers. I think they're playing better and better all the time. They believe in themselves even more. All right, let me see this. Brian Duffy's got a good question here. As a former player, how much weight do you attribute to a long layoff Tampa from gameplay being a significant factor in Game 1 results? Did the Rangers just kick their butts, or was the downtime significant? Well, first of all, the Rangers played fantastic. So I think the Rangers would have won no matter what, the way they played. Shesterkin net was, again, unbelievable. But I do think it affects you. You, especially come playoff time, like you want to get on a roll. Like you love playoffs largely because there's no practice hardly at all. You're just playing games all the time. Yes, the rest is important, and maybe rest would help, down the road. But that layoff does really hurt. Now I know Ranger fans don't want to hear this, and I don't even know how much it really matters. But the Tampa record in the playoffs, I think, was particularly pointing at Vasilevsky, but I can't remember if it was Vasilevsky or the team or both. After they're 17-0 after a loss in the playoffs, so they do tend to come back pretty hard. Now, having said that, that doesn't matter. It mattered to the Rangers. The Rangers weren't playing those other 17 games, so it really just matters what's going on tonight. So, again, I do think that Tampa will come back and play better. Vasilevsky will play better. But again, I just still love the way the Rangers are playing. I love the fact that they can get down in a period, down in a series, and they still keep fighting back. They've proven that to themselves. Let me see here. Susan was under the weather. I don't know how much she wants me to talk about her health online here, but she's on the weather. Hopefully she's doing better. Gallant should have won Coach of the Year, not taking anything away from Sutter. Well, obviously, my feelings about Gallant. I was shocked that he was still available when other coaches were being hired. And I thought Chris Drury did a fantastic job of bringing him in. I love what he like. It's interesting because you see sometimes when we get down, or the Rangers got down against Pittsburgh in the series, you heard some talk about that. He doesn't know the X's and O's and all that kinds of stuff. When he gets up in press conferences, Gallant, I really believe downplays his role in the coaching of the team. He gives credit to other coaches. He gives credit to the players. And I love that about him. But I don't think we should be fooled and think that he doesn't know the X's and O's or really push the X's and O's on the team. He talks about how he wants the players to make the decisions out there. And I think that's fantastic. That's what it should be. But he's a technically sound coach as anybody in the game. He just doesn't talk about it. That's not his way. He makes it about the players, even his assistant coaches. He gives them a lot of credit too. And I think that's fantastic. It's one of the reasons I like him so much, because he does. I think you saw that in Vegas when they had success. And there's a lot of reasons why they had success there. But I think one of them was his coaching was, listen, you're not going to get benched if you make mistakes. I mean, obviously, if you continue the same mistake over and over, then we can't keep putting you on the ice. But if you're going out there and you're giving it 100% effort and you make a mistake, okay, well, maybe correct the mistake, but you're going to get back out there and continue to play. So love him. That's always one of those awards as Coach of the Year. I mean, I'm sure the Calgary people are thinking, yeah, good choice. He did a lot with that team, got players to play better. team to play better, a good team game. So to me, it's one of those ones that I don't know how much it matters to coaches. I guess it does when it comes contract time to make more money. But I think Lance an excellent coach. Sutter's an excellent coach as well. I like Rod Bendemer as a coach. I like Berube in St. Louis as a coach. There's a lot of guys. Dan De Palma here. Gallant knows exactly what he's doing. He doesn't want to fall victim to the trap questions. Yeah, I agree totally. When he gets up with he reminds me, he gives a little bit more than Belichick with the New England Patriots, but he talks more. I don't think he really gives you more, right? He's, I loved the other day too, when Goudreau had come back, and I think he was asked like 2 days before at a press conference, do you think he's coming back? He said, no, he's not coming back. And I really believe him. I don't think he thought he was coming back. And he laughed about it after, and he says, I know you guys thought I was lying. I really wasn't. So, Ira, Mr. Spelling Bee Matthew, Tom doesn't always drink Dos Equis, but he still is the most. You know what, Ira? You have come a long way, young man. A long, long way. I'm very proud of you. You're working at yourself. You're going to be a better person looking in the mirror. You got more intelligent. So, okay, what do we got here? I actually like this, so it's just me on. There's other guys who don't need them. But then we can answer some more questions here. Lafreniere is really maturing in play, both ends. He's actually number 2 behind Trouba in hits or less. You know what? 100%. I do agree. I think he's realized. I think there's much more to his game than we're seeing right now offensively. He's a young player, but I think what I like about him is he's saying, listen, we're in the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's not about me. It's about the team winning. So if this is my role for right now, that I have to be that energy player, and he's still providing offense as well. But if I have to be that energy player, playing the body more, and really just it's going to complete his game. I've talked about it a number of times. I was so lucky my rookie year in the league, 80-81. We went on a long run of the playoffs, beat LA in the first round, St. Louis in the second round. And came up against the Islanders, who were in the middle of winning their 4 cups, and lost to them eventually in the semifinals. But as an individual, it did so much for my game, so much more confidence. You know, like one playoff game, I don't know the numbers exactly. Seems like a game like that could be like 10 games in the regular season of the pressure you're playing under, and you're doing things. You feel good about your game because you think this is a Stanley Cup playoffs. This is what you dreamed about all your life, and you're doing it. You're playing well because obviously the team's winning. So, I think it's fantastic for those kids. Hedl, too, is just, man. You know, to me, what I like is it's really allowing these players. And again, I do give Gallant a lot of credit for this, in that he's just letting them go play. Put them together. I don't think he's overcoaching it. Just go work hard, guys. To me, the great thing about the kids is really the expectations are pretty low as far as production. It's just we want energy from you. We want that energy line. The fact that they're producing the way they are is that's kind of a bonus. So, Ira, whatever you want. I'll just answer all questions, all anytime you want. How does the MSG vibe compare to the old days when you played for the Rangers? Well, it was rocking pretty good, the old days as well. I think the difference is now with the technology in the buildings, particularly MSG, with the music and big screen TVs and, the big screen, it's more of an entertainment thing. The crowd gets into it even more because of that. But as far as the crowd itself and the intensity, man, some of those games we had against the Islanders there was more wars up in the stands than there were on the ice. But okay. Lindgren is a bigger version of Danny G. What is tough, that guy. I love that guy. Yeah, and I was the one that said for a while this season that I loved the way he played, the way he threw his heart out there. But I thought, oh, God, is he big enough, to play? Listen, I'd still love to see him bigger. I'm sure he'd love to be bigger too. But what I really love is that I see the impact he has on his teammates and the way his teammates react to him. And I mentioned this before. Which game was he? Maybe game 1 or game 7. Fox really had tipped in the shot, but Lindgren had shot it from the point, and Fox being his defense partner, that's kind of strange that it was in front of the net, tipped it in. But when the goal went in, Fox knew he had scored it, and everybody on the ice, I think, knew he had scored as well. But they didn't go to Fox. They all, including Fox, went to Lindgren, the guy who had shot it. And I say that, and it may seem like a small little thing, but it was kind of an indicator to me what his teammates think of him and his impact on the team. Coming back and playing hurt, still hurt. You can tell whatever it is that people are suspecting, broken ankle or whatever it is. He still tweaks it every once in a while, and he's in pain. And he has to leave the ice. Whatever they do, they may freeze it up for him, whatever it is. and then he comes back and just I think the guys get so much out of that. Like, yeah, I've been in that situation before, both as the guy that is hurt and the teammate of the guy that is hurt. And it's just like, it's that emotional thing that, if he's going to fight like that and fight through the pain, then I can certainly fight through anything that I have to fight through. I think that's the mentality. And that's this team is like that now. Barclay Goodrow coming back and playing before people thought he was going to come back and play. And then, they're smart enough to start him and have him take the opening face off and everything too. So, I just love the mentality of this team. I was critical of Kreider and Zibanejad. I didn't think they were playing well, but you know what? Then you look at Zibanejad's points. I think he still is third, only behind Draisaitl and McDavid in Edmonton. So although maybe we think he wasn't playing that great, he's still putting up the points. And again, the team's winning too. That's the thing. So that's really all they care about at that point. So, all right. What do we got here? I think Goodrow coming back was such a boost to the team also. Two awesome pieces to the plot. Totally agree. Yeah. We just touched on that. And I agree 100%, Gloria. And it's just, to me, it's those two guys you can point at, but it's a whole team mentality. And I've talked so much before about how much I like Shesterkin, again, not just stopping the puck, but the attitude about him stopping the puck. And this is not meant as a criticism of Henrik Lundqvist. He had an incredible career, Hall of Fame career, one of the best athletes in the city of New York ever, one of the best goaltenders ever playing the National Hockey League. I guess the one thing, if I had to pick his game apart, was I wish he didn't get so emotional towards his teammates. Now, some would say, listen, that's the fire inside of him. They want to win, and I get that. But I just sometimes as a player, you want to know that you're I guess a star goaltender like that. Okay, we're under control, guys. Don't worry about it. Okay, we need to play better. We need to correct mistakes and everything. But I've got this. I'll stop the puck. You guys go do your job. And I think that's what Shesterkin does for them. They clearly, listen, they're playing better defensively, but he just makes them look better defensively too. They're giving up. I can't remember, I heard the numbers the other day, the quality scoring chances that they give up. Those are the ones right in the slot, pretty high up there in the league, but he's stopping them in the winning. That's this thing. And again, we're taking a page out of Gallant's notebook too, is to say, okay, we can pick apart all these stats and like that, but where are we? Well, we're in the semifinals. We're winning. We just beat the defending Stanley Cup champions 6-2 in game one. So, okay, we can say there's just bad things that we're doing. We should do things better, but that's really all that matters. And that's true too. Now, that doesn't mean you don't try to correct mistakes, but okay. Billy boy. Important question. What time does the Buffalo start? As soon as Kotze gets there. That's when I got to tell you. So I was lucky yesterday. Got to go. They had a bunch of season ticket holders. They had a lunch at Tao uptown on 58th Street. So I was invited to go to that yesterday. And the reason I bring that up is, Tao is obviously purchased by MSG. And so I have all the sushi from Tao and Delta Club and other places around the garden. Oh, man. Love the sushi. May not be quite as good as my sushi that I make at home, but still pretty good. Goodrow, yeah. And this important point too. So Goodrow is pretty good in the faceoff dot. And that's one place the Rangers have not been good at. And I don't know why, because obviously they know they're not that good, and I'm pretty sure they work at it. I think it was last year, the year before, I can't remember who was one of the, I think Quinn, when he was coaching, brought in an old linesman, a very tired linesman, I think it was, to help them work on faceoffs. Well, I thought it was a great idea. Or maybe it was Chris Drury that came up with the idea. I think that's what it was. Didn't seem to change too much. And again, that's changed. And I've had to really study it and look at it. But sometimes part of the problem when you're losing faceoffs is that the wingers and defensemen are not coming in to help the centerman. So it isn't always just the centerman losing the draw. Sometimes it is. He just loses it cleanly. But if you're in trouble like that, very often they'll say, listen, just don't lose the draw. And then our guys will come in and help out and get the puck after the puck gets dropped. So, good job, Ira. Jeez, Ira's on a roll. He went from being like really in trouble, like, being benched, being maybe getting sent down to the minors. Now all of a sudden he's making the All-Star team here. How about a shout out to Bubba on his birthday? Barry Beck, happy birthday, Bubba. Good man. I've been through a lot here in the last couple of years. Obviously lost a son and his involvement with the Mark Pavley situation. But again, happy birthday to him. I think he's in the process of writing a book too. We're all in the process of writing a book. Everybody's writing. Maybe even Ira wrote. Nah, I don't think Ira can write a book. Yeah, maybe it's a picture book. I don't think he'd write anything else. All right, so let's touch a little bit on the Colorado Edmonton series. obviously, the goaltending is so here with this series with Tampa and the Rangers. Everybody thought the goaltending is going to be locked down, and I still think it will be. That first game was not indicative of what Vasilevsky can do, so I think the rest of the way he'll be pretty good. And then we thought, I think the Colorado Edmonton series goaltending was going to be a major issue, and it was. I didn't anticipate like in game one, where it was a 9-6 game that Colorado won. And then in last night, we saw Colorado. I thought really did a really good job defensively, locking down, particularly McDavid, and he didn't get much done. And then obviously Colorado won 4-0. They had good goaltending for that young kid. What's his name? Frankie, they were calling him, but Francouz or whatever young kid's name. He played pretty well. Francouz. Probably Larry Melnick's favorite player. Okay, what do we got here? Irish book. So the offside game one, I'm assuming that was the Colorado series. You're talking about that offside. So there's some confusion about it. And so what happened was the puck had gone into the Edmonton zone. Then it came out again, and Colorado players had gone into the Edmonton zone as well. So one Colorado player got the puck and was now carrying it back into the Edmonton zone. There's still a Colorado player in the Edmonton zone. He should have left. He was in the process of leaving. The puck did cross the line before that player left the Edmonton zone, but it was not touched by a Colorado player until after the other Colorado player got out of the zone. And that may be a little bit confusing, but technically they did call it right. It was a little confusing at first, but it's going to, when is the puck touched? As long as the puck is not touched in the offensive zone while an offensive player from Colorado is in there illegally. He got out, and then they touched the puck. So it was a good goal. And I thought they did. Again, there's a little confusion in the TV booth as well. But I thought once they got the referee involved and they discussed it and explained the rule, I thought that was the way it was supposed to be. So we have disagreement here. Peter Schaefer says Makar had full control. That's not what the video showed. So, but no, it's not. So, okay, here's where the confusion is, Peter, too. I'm going to disagree with you here. Puck was never more than a foot away from Makar. That's control. The rule is not this. That is not control. So in the terms of offsides in particular and icings, it's touching the puck. So again, I know it's one of those things you don't see too often. So it looks like it's not the way it is, but they did, in my mind, they did get it right. And I understand the confusion with it, but especially once they explained it, they did get it right. So, but I mean, a ton of talent on display there. You're talking about Makar, just a fantastic young player. Some of the young defensemen in the National Hockey League credit. He's probably at the top of the list with Fox. Obviously, McKinnon, I think the world of. I think he's a fantastic player. So there's still some that needs to be changed. Again, I don't know why. To me, I see why what's happened sometimes is when something like that happens, sometimes there's a call to change rules. It doesn't happen that often like that. So I thought they called it correctly. I mean, obviously, if you're an Edmonton fan, you don't believe that, but I thought they did a pretty good job. So they obviously now Edmonton down 2-0, going back to Edmonton. The question then is for them, if I'm then goaltending. Smith and that, although he had a really good first period, I thought a couple of those goals, they had that 2 or 3 minute span there where they scored 3 goals really quick. There's a couple of them you thought, you can't, like, it's one of those things you can't maybe totally blame them, but you say to yourself, if you're going to win, you've got to have those saves. They may be like a grade A save, but you need to have those grade A saves. So, here's Michael makes a good point here. Nazem Kadri. So he's been fantastic. 3 assists last night, I think he got. And he's played fantastic. Physical player. It's interesting because he'd got himself in some trouble in the past with taking bad penalties and getting suspended and everything. I think he's matured now. He's still that aggressive player, and you don't want to lose it. I mean, same as Brad Marchand in Boston. As much as you say, like, why do you do some of that stuff you do? But that's part of who the player is. You probably have to accept. And I can tell you, when you're a player playing against the kind of player that does that has gotten suspended, done some stupid stuff, it really makes you think when you're out there too. You think to yourself, okay, I do need to be a little bit, aware of this guy because he's done things in the past. So it does kind of help the player, in some ways when he's got that reputation that he does things that are a little bit out of the norm. So, all right. Strome goal that was waved off. Hold on, let me see here. The Strome goal that was waved off, clearly Strome touched the puck before cat. Yeah, that goal was. I'm surprised they didn't see it on the ice, that they had to go to replay. That would have been close to being onside. They made the exact right call on that too. And I think that's got to be the frustrating thing for coaches too, when they have to say, listen, we need to take this to the replay because it's a call that should have been made on the ice. It didn't end up costing anybody anything, but it was one that I thought was so far offside, it wasn't even a question. What do we got here? What do we got? Carl Becker. Edmonton power play never sets up. McDavid always moving, not like Zibanejad. Yeah. Their power play is different. You know, listen, there's all different sorts of power plays. I tell you, I really like Colorado's power play. What I like about it is that they attack the box. So defensively, if you're killing the penalty in your own zone, they call it the box. Not everybody just stays in that box. Some people are more flexible with that. They move around more. Other people they'll stay in the box, or they'll shift it up and make changes. But what Colorado does is they attack the box. They make you make decisions defensively by attacking the box. And they always, like, especially Makar and McKinnon, they do it so well where they attack the box, but they're always ready to make a pass. I mean, they're looking to shoot, they're looking to pass, but they're attacking the zone too. So, and it's not just like, you really don't know if, when, especially McKinnon, well, like Makar too, when they attack there, they can do whatever they want. They can shoot and pass, they can try to beat you and score. So I think it's the talent level of the players out there, but it's also the system as well. All right, let's go back to Billy Boy. Any updates for the first annual Learn Golf Invitational in the Tri-State area? Need to invite Putz as well. Putz being Mark Puttenvink. See, Billy's got all these little nicknames for everybody. There's no update. I guess we should do do we really think that this is going to happen? I mean, do we think we could do all this work to get ready for this golf tournament? I think we shifted away from the golf tournament to maybe a comedy night. We want to raise some money for charity. And the thought was it's much easier to set up a comedy night. A buddy of mine owns Levely Live over in Palisades Mall, not far from here. And pretty easy to set that up. And it's actually a really fun night too. There's a lot of comedians that are hockey fans that get involved in it. So that's probably what we'll do. So don't tell me what we're doing like golf tournament. Contradidiac. We're doing a comedy night, and the chances of getting Larry Melnick in here are slim at best. Again, poor Jackie DiPiazza and I did put us in the same category. We fought to get him in for the Ranger Golf Tournament. It was all set up to go, and just he found he had to stay home and watch the grass grow. So, but that's been typical of Larry ever since we made him a star on the show. We can roast the class. Ira. Oh, that would be funny. So people that don't know Kotze, I think everybody knows Kotze. Chris Kotsopoulos and I were rookies together in the National Hockey League. We roomed together our rookie year in the National Hockey League, and he is quite a how do we describe Kotze? Quite a outspoken individual. Yes, I agree with this. And I thought this before the start of the series too, that Ryan Reeves and Pat Maroon is inevitable, that not just the end of the game. Yeah, it's interesting. And you bring up a good point, this end of the game stuff. That goes back to the dark ages of hockey where, the team gets down and there's no chance that they're going to come back and win. And, now they start running guys, punching guys. And they did that. Edmonton did that last night to Colorado. Serves no purpose to me whatsoever. I don't think it does anything. It doesn't. And even in the past, we, again, like Ranger fans will know, my first year in the NHL, we had a big, tough team. We went to the semifinals against the Islanders. And then Herb Brooks came in the next year and changed the team all around entirely. Got rid of a lot of the tough guys and smaller, faster team. But we beat Philly all the time. They always tried. You could wait for it at the end of the game. They're always going to try to do something. It's just, we talked about it in the locker room. We said, listen, just don't pay attention to it. Play our game. It's like, bull riders, I guess this is a good comparison or not, but bull riders, they don't get bull riders that are big guys that are all muscling to try to out-muscle the bull. You can't. You're not going to out-muscle the bull. So they get small guys that can just ride the bull. It's the same thing when you're playing against a team like the old Flyers or whatever, that, you won't have enough fighters to fight all the fighters in those old teams. So you just don't even bother. You just go play your game. Just don't pay attention to it. And that's how we played it, and that's how we won. And it's the same thing today. It doesn't change. Like, Edmonton trying to rough up Colorado last night at the end of the game, or, Tampa trying to do it to the Rangers. There's no purpose. It's not like the Rangers are sitting in the locker room saying, I don't want to play against these guys. Especially nowadays, the rules have changed so much. Like the whole intimidation factor. Intimidation was part of the game. That was a tactic back, in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. It's not now. It's skating, it's skill, it's physical play, yes, but not worried about fighting and everything. So, what do we got? What do you got? Katsu will come after there's a free buy. Bill, you guys are picking on Katsu. I'm not for this. I don't think this is right. I'll put it up there, out of common decency, but I just don't think it's right for you guys to be picking on Katsu like that. Definitely, yes. Here's a topic that we need to touch on, though. Will Deputy Duguay will come? Well, I don't think it's a question whether he'll come. It's whether his, Miss Palin will let him come. I don't feel like, I just feel like his testicles are in her purse right now, and she kind of decides when he gets to use them or not. That's just my take. I just saying that from a distance. I really don't know that for sure, but sure looks like that. It is funny because I don't think Dukes has ever ice fished or anything like that before. Now we're getting all these pictures on the internet of him ice fishing and out walking the dogs. Things have changed. Let me see what we have here. The great Larry Melnick makes this point all the time with the Flyers. They had like 12. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, that's the thing. And we would talk about in the locker room. Like, nobody was like, guys in the NHL, they're not scared of, we're not getting intimidated by anybody out there at all. But just you're not going to fight a bunch of guys that their only value to their team is to fight. Just it makes absolutely no sense. We had a skilled hockey team with the Rangers back then, and for us to try to fight, that's playing right into what they want. It made no sense at all to do it. And that's why we beat them all the time. So, what did I think of this deal here? What did you think of the deal that brought in Osborne, Huber, and Blaisdell for Duguay Johnson? Well, listen, whenever Ron Duguay and Eddie Johnson were great team players. So whenever you lose guys like that are great team players and good players just in general, you're sad to lose those teammates as people, as your friends and everything. But Mark Osborne, great team player, skilled player. Willie Huber was always criticized, it seemed like, because he's a big guy that maybe didn't play big enough, but that was everybody else's problem. Then poor Willie, he's almost like he was too big. He was a skilled player, could shoot the puck, pass the puck, competed. He played the body. Yeah, he was a great, like I said, great team guy. So, no problem with him at all. Blaisdell was more like that grinding third or fourth line guy. Again, another good team guy. So we welcomed those guys in. They were fantastic. I tell a story all the time with Mark Osborne. He's a very religious man, and I totally respected him for that. We sat beside each other in the locker room and right play line at practice. And, I really liked him. And again, I totally respect. It wasn't like he was the guy that was trying to push his religion on anybody else. He was just very religious, and that was his thing. And we would joke around with stuff. And I said to him one point, I pulled him aside secretly, and I said, do you mind? And if you do mind, please tell me. But do you mind if we joke around about religion at all? Or is that something that you want to keep? He said, no, Tom, that's fine. That's cool. Yeah. So he would come in the locker room and, I'd go, hey, Mark, praise the Lord. And he'd go, praise the Lord, Tommy. But nobody else knew that we had this conversation. So they're all looking at me like, what an idiot you are. But he thought it was really funny. He got a kick out of it. So I tell that story because it just shows I thought he was a great teammate. And, again, he had his beliefs that may be different than a lot of guys on the team, but yeah, he was a team player like everybody else. So, he's a bomb. Love that guy. You going to the game? I am not going to the game tonight. I'm working again, like I mentioned before, working at the 34th and 7th at the Fan Zone. Ron Gresham and I will be there taking pictures, signing autographs and everything. It's interactive. You can take slap shots and all kinds of places to take pictures and everything. So that's fun. We're there from 4 to 5:30. Game doesn't start till 8, so it give me a chance to get home, watch the game at home. You can really study the game. What do we got here? Let's see here. Let me pick on Dukes a little bit. Dukes needs a hair over if he's out fishing. A hair over. Is that we're going bald and you flip the hair over? I guess that's what it is. Nation wants to go a few rounds with Mel. Bob Nation wants to go a few rounds with Mel. Be a good fight. I don't think they ever fought. Maybe they did. Bob Nation was that kind of guy too that I have total respect for him. I think I've told the story where playing a playoff game one year, and near the end of the game, he ran me with a forearm shiver, knocked me out. I had to spend the night in the hospital. And he wasn't scared of me. He wasn't scared of anybody. He called me up actually before the next game and apologized. He said, listen, we play very respectful with each other. We hit each other and everything. And I'm just, trying to win. Didn't try to knock you out. And I said, okay, Bob, I'll let you win with it. And then even after the series was over, shaking hands, he in the handshaking line, he pulled me aside and apologized again. And I've seen him at other events and stuff, and just a total class guy. Got tons of respect for him. And one of the reasons I have so much respect, and I mean this totally in a good way. He wasn't the most talented guy, but he got a lot out of his career with his heart and hard work, and never backing down from anybody. So, that's right. I forgot about this. So Mark Osborne's wife in the movie Urban Cowboy was so John Travolta in the movie was married to Deborah Winger, correct? They had a little brouhaha, and Travolta's character hooked up with Mark Osborne's wife in the show. It was this rich girl living in the city. She wanted a cowboy. I forgot about that. That's right too. She's sweet. I love that movie. That was good. I remember meeting her a couple times. She had some health problems too, but really nice person, lovely lady. That's right. I forgot the point there. How about Braden Snyder? All right. Where's Braden Snyder? I want to talk about Braden Snyder. How about Braden Snyder, kid? He's playing great. You know what? I can't tell you enough. To be a young defenseman at his age, playing at this level of hockey, the pressure on him, and especially, I know it may sound strange, being like that third pair, so you're not getting as many minutes. So you're not in the game quite as much. When you're a guy that's playing like 25 minutes a game, you're just in the game. So you can go out and have a bad shift. It doesn't matter. You're going right back out there again. Schneider's playing, I don't know his minutes. I'm going to guess around 15 minutes a game, which that's what it should be for him. There's nothing wrong with that. But you're not getting in the game as much. So you have to focus so much more. And again, because if you do make a mistake, you may sit there for a longer period of time, like dwelling on that mistake. So I love the kid. I've seen him get interviewed. He just seems like this confident, mature kid. And so his future is unbelievable. I think he's just scratching the surface right now. Let me see. Ron's picking on me here too. Did you have to return the nice blue shirt? So I had a nice blue shirt on yesterday. And no, that is my blue shirt. I keep that. Just bring it out for special occasions. Susan brings up a good point here, as she usually does. Great job by Drury at the deadline just before Toronto Cup. Yeah, those four players. And I remember we were talking about trades, before the trade deadline. And, would they go out and get, and I think they were trying to go out and get a bigger name player. Was it Joe Pavelski kind of guy in Dallas? He ultimately stayed in Dallas, to add to their top six. I think they certainly looked at that from everything I heard. But in the end, they settled, and I say settled on, but more depth guys. But I mean, when I say depth guys, he's got quality depth guys like Barkley, like for Toronto. I mean, he's scored some big goals. He played well defensively last game. He came back hard in the back check. So all these guys, Mott, Ron, they're all playing big roles on the team. And even the guy Sammy Blais that I wish he could get back in the lineup. Maybe they don't need him right now, but. He's missed the whole season, but I thought that was a really, again, based on where the team was at last year and the addition of his kind of player, that gritty, in your face kind of player. So yeah, listen, I've seen people write it recently too with success the Rangers are having right now. The JD, John Davidson, and Jeff Gorton deserve a lot of credit for what they've done. All true. They did a fantastic job of putting a lot of this lineup together. But Chris Drury came in and really, finished it off and added those real character plays, kind of changed the culture of the team. And I think JD and Jeff Gorton knew that the culture of the team had to change eventually, but they're trying to keep all those open spots available for those young kids to play, as opposed to bringing in more veteran guys. And obviously that cost them their jobs because, to get pushed around the way they did. And it wasn't just the incident, the Matt Martin on Trouba hit. It wasn't just the Tom Wilson incident. It's just the overall, the way the team was structured. And, listen, this is New York. You're not going to sit around and be patient. Mr. Dolan, the owner of the team, made the decision that was not acceptable. He wasn't going to have the fans that are spending that kind of money to go to the game, see their team get pushed around like that. And now, so Chris Drury came in, changed the culture of the team, and they're not getting pushed around by anybody now. So let me see here what we got here. Schneider, the mini Trouba. Yeah, and that there's another great signing too, Trouba. I remember when he first came in, signed the big contract, and the team was still in the development stage. They're just getting going in a rebuild. And he tried to do too much. And there's some criticism of Trouba. And rightfully so. He was, losing the puck and everything. But that wasn't his game. If anything, I give him credit because he was trying to do too much. He was trying to prove that he was worth the contract. He was trying to help the team win. That's how I saw it anyways. And now he's just settled into his role as the hitter, the big shot, second power play unit, penalty killer, leader. Maybe a little more of a quiet leader, but that's a huge move, and he fits in. And you're right, to see other kids like Schneider playing with him, Keandre Miller playing with him, learning the game, and this is as much as sitting on the bench all the time talking about the game. It's how you approach, how you prepare for the game, how you react to mistakes, how you react to good plays. And to me, I like him. And listen, he's not always perfect. What I like, though, I'll tell you, there's a couple of times last series against it was tight Max Domi. When he tried to rough up Lindgren one game, then Trouba made a point of coming across the ice and a big hit early in the next game and nailed him. And I think it was kind of lucky in some ways for Domi that he was going down and kind of missed part of the hit. But I love the way Trouba has done that. The big hits, standing up for himself. He doesn't early in the year, he had several big hits and then he get attacked by someone on the other team, but he didn't have somebody else stick up for him. He took care of himself. So yeah, he's a good player. I like him a lot. Let me see what happened. Oh, so I'm assuming you mean Sammy Blais. What happened to Sammy Blais? Who sits if Blais comes back? Great question. You're right. I mean, there was sometimes you think, well, maybe you don't need Reeves in the lineup, but Tampa's got a pretty big physical team. And I think, having Reeves, even if he doesn't play a whole lot, kind of deters that a little bit because they're thinking, okay, I don't want to get I was the same way. You go back to the Islanders when we played them. Mike Bossy. So if I had to play against him, and if Gillies and Nystrom weren't in the lineup, I certainly played against Bossy a little bit differently. There's no question I'd hit him harder. When those guys are on the bench, you think, okay, now you hit him hard, you're going to pay for it later. So it does act as a deterrent. I remember when I must have been my second or third year in the league, we played it out in Edmonton. It was like a random Tuesday night or whatever, and I'd hit Wayne Gretzky, and I've talked about this where, especially in Canadian buildings back then, when the whistle blew, there's no music playing or whatever. It's just like at the ballet or something. It's just dead silent, and 18,000 people just sitting there watching the play. So I just hit Gretzky, whistle had blown for some other reason, and Glenn Sather stood up on the bench and yelled, "Laidlaw, you're going home in a body bag." And he taps Dave Semenko. Dave Semenko was like a 6'20" guy. Obviously he's not, but he was a big man, known maybe as the toughest guy in the league at that point, and taps him. And now he jumps over the boards and starts skating towards me. You can't go anywhere. You got to stand there and take it. And Dave, we've lost him now, and apparently he's just a fantastic guy. I really didn't get to know him that well, but apparently rumors were that Dave liked to go out and have a few beers as well. And so he's skating over towards me, and I'm looking at him, I'm thinking, is he hung over? Just like, it's a Tuesday night. We're not rivals. The Rangers aren't really rivals with the Edmonton Oilers. So he had kind of like a disgusted look on his face. He's skating over to me, and he's looking at me. He says, "Tom, I was like, are you going to hit Wayne anymore tonight?" And I got up in his face, make it look like I'm really yapping back at him. I says, "Dave, if you don't want me to, I won't hit him anymore." So he says, "Okay." It was funny. And then it's funny because all the teammates are like, "Way to go, Tommy." That's what stand up to him. Yeah, I showed him. Yeah, that's the way. All right. But he was, so that kind of, I tell that story because that's the Reeves effect too, that he doesn't even have to do anything. It's just by talking out there. So, and it's a good point by Danny Erickson here too. He's certainly not hurting the team. In fact, sometimes, like, he's a pretty smart player sometimes in the forecheck, they get going, and he's good. Braden Point. I don't know if they've announced. I remember watching the game against Toronto where Braden Point got hurt, and it looked like it was a groin or something. I think he went in the boards. Yeah, he was skating. I can't, but it appeared to be more of a groin injury, or maybe knee or something. But and he's a good player for Tampa too. That's a one that hurts them. And by the sounds of things, doesn't sound like he's coming back in this series. Let me see here. How do you know what it's like? Ellen, that's a great point by you. It's what I guess I would perceive the ballet would be, very quiet, but that's, valid point by you. There's no question there. Reeves is a beast. All right. So tonight's game, let's just kind of analyze tonight's game. So let's figure you're the Tampa Bay Lightning. You've won 2 Stanley Cups. You know how to win. they aren't as good a team as they have been in the last couple of years. They've had to lose. They have people talk about all the time that third line that was so effective for them. But they've added people like Corey Perry and that. So, they're obviously still a good team. They hammered Florida 4 games in a row. And again, I compare them to the Islanders when they were winning their 4 cups in a row, where you would look at them sometimes and you say to yourself, they're really not that good, or the first round they really struggle to beat somebody, but then they go win another Stanley Cup because they've just learned how to win. Tampa's in that same category. They've learned how to win. So Vasilevsky, again, his record is that 17-0. They win 17 in a row games after a playoff loss. So they lost against the Rangers. So you assume, and the Rangers are going to be aware of that. They know that's the record. And again, you're not worried about the record because that's the past, but the mentality of the team. They know, obviously they've proven over and over. They know how to now look and say, okay, here's what we did wrong in the previous game. Here's how we need to adjust. Here's how we need to, adjust our effort. So that Tampa's going to come out and play better. That's fine. That doesn't. I don't think that bothers the Rangers now. The Rangers have been through so much stuff now in the playoffs already. Again, being down 3-1 against Pittsburgh, coming back and have to win 3 elimination games and being down in every one of those 3 elimination games. So, being down 2-0 to Carolina, coming back and tying that series, and then going down 3-2, having to, go for a game 7, the other team's building where they had never lost during the playoffs. So I don't think any of this stuff bothers the Rangers at this point. They've faced a lot of stuff. So that 17-0 record from the past is the past. That you need to be aware that Tampa's going to come out and play better. Vasilevsky's going to play better. Now that I say that, the Rangers may go win 7-2 tonight against Vasilevsky. Who knows? So, but I suspect that they will be a better hockey team, and Vasilevsky will be a better goaltender. But again, I don't know how many times they faced a goalie like Shesterkin during those 17 games that they won after losses. Right, that's the difference to me. And again, now you've got people scoring. There's the Banzed scoring. Panarin. I think a lot of people are suspecting there's something wrong with him. He's hurt in some capacity, but still he's scoring some goals too. He may not be as effective player shift in and shift out that you've seen in the past, but he's still scoring his goal. Let me see what we got here. Gallant's answer to Tampa winning after losses was great. Said it wasn't against the Rangers. Yeah, it's true. And that is the thing about these records that sometimes people in the media get more wrapped up about. They don't win after they don't lose after they lose. They don't lose after they lose that game. They come back in the playoffs and win the next game. But you're right. It wasn't against these New York Rangers that they have this year. It doesn't really matter. Again, to me, it does matter again that how this team looks at losing, what they need to do to prepare. That's all that really matters. The 17-0, you're right, it wasn't against New York Rangers, so it's really irrelevant, but it just shows you that they know how to come back after losing a playoff game. So, David, I agree 100% with you. And I think there's something that you can't be stated enough. What I like with him too, I thought Shesterkin for a couple of games there in the Pittsburgh series really struggled, which was a surprise to me. One of the things that I've talked about that I like about him so much is his mental attitude and his mental toughness, his confidence in himself, and his belief to fight through if it's a bad goal or whatever. And I thought he struggled with that a little bit, but for whatever reason, he grabbed hold of it and they said, okay, that's enough. I'm going back to being the old Igor Shesterkin that I was, and it just didn't bother him anymore. And he showed that in Carolina. Even he had one game at the Garden where he let in kind of a soft goal. I think it was a 5-1 game where I can't remember the score was, whatever. And it was a great moment, I thought. He let in a bad goal. He played so well. And then the Garden crowd, which I've said in the past, is a fantastic crowd. And playing the Gardens on blue, but it can be a little intimidating sometimes because when something bad happens to the team, the Garden faithful, you feel it. It's the emotion in the building. It's either the noise or whatever. It's not that and when you're a young kid, you don't know this, but it's not that the Rangers are mad at you or don't like the Ranger fans are mad at you or don't like you. It's that they love the team so much, they're so invested in the team that emotion is coming out from the fans as well. But after he let that goal in, the Garden crowd started chanting Igor again. And it was pretty cool because it was like, okay, it's like the crowd themselves realized, okay, we've got to get past this. He's our guy. We got to cheer him on. And they cheered him on, and I don't know if he needed it or not, but it certainly worked, and he continued to be playing the same way he had in the past. So that was a pretty cool moment at the Garden to see that. And it is a former player too. You're like, to see the crowd, like the crowd's invested in the game. They're not just cheering and reacting to some plays that you made on the ice. they're taking the initiative themselves. So that was pretty cool when they did that. So let me see here. Susan, you are fired up today. I'm listening to Sam and Dave on the radio. It's synced up to the TV. They're great. So some people have been a little critical. I like Ray Ferraro. I think he does a pretty good job doing the games. But I think, largely because, Sam's a legend here amongst Ranger fans. Dave Maloney is a former Ranger. He's a legend himself. And you can tell Dave, his heart and soul is with the Rangers. Like when he's doing a game, like there's the sighs and the grunts and the groans. So he's totally into it. And Sam doing the radio is pretty cool too. Because, like I said, he's just you talk about the New York Rangers and broadcasting. That's, Sam's name comes up. So yeah, it is interesting. I've heard a few people say that they watch the game on TV, but they have the radio on. This is pretty cool. So, let me see here. Wouldn't psych up for it, but we'll try again. That's a good point. That's a good point. So you'd have to sync it up. Yeah. Interesting. My feed. Yeah, there's some great broadcasting in the past, right? Jim Gordon. Yeah, he's good. His voice. I'll never forget. We had the brawl in Philly my first year in the playoffs, and he and come on, I can't. Jim Gordon and Big Whistle. Oh, you guys will get it. But the Big Whistle, he's like, I'm never forgetting the Boston. I think he had the Boston accent, right? What's that one was? He goes, "This is going to set the game back 30 years," or whatever it was. Fans, but everywhere we go now, when you talk to fans, that's one of their favorite moments among fans. The Big Whistle, that's right. All right, we'll get his first name. Bill Chadwick. Thank you, Billy. Billy finally did something right. I hate to admit it, but Bill finally did something correct. Could spell it right. I mean, couldn't use capital letters, but so Bill Chadwick was, he's going to set the game back 30 years, he says. But the Ranger fan didn't set the game back at all. Ranger fans loved it. I've told the story before too, where he had a radio show way out in Eastern Long Island, someplace, can't remember where it was. So he, have guys, get the car for us, we go out there. And there was always the rumors that kind of the joke was, and he was a great guy too, so I don't want to critical him. But there always a joke that some games we'd go to grab the mic and he'd grab his beer instead during the game. But I don't know if that's true or not. But he put it in. He really had his heart into it too. But so we were doing this radio show and people were calling in with questions. And some guy, obviously an Islander fan, called in and asked the question to me of what it was like to shower with Ron Duguay. So the guys, look at younger guys. It sounded like a younger guy. So he's trying to stir the pot a little bit. So Bill didn't understand the question. And he just turns to me and goes, "Well, Tom, what is it like?" He didn't know that the guy had said this about shower. So I'm kind of like, I'm a young guy, so I don't know how to handle that. Like now I go, Bill, this guy asked me what it's like to shower. But so I tried to dance around a little bit or something. It was just kind of funny the way he handled it. But he was a good guy. But I'll never forget, shoot the puck, Barry. That's right, Michael. Good job. So Barry Beck had a cannon of a shot. And I think Bill Chadwick wanted to use it more often. So every time Barry had the puck, shoot the puck, Barry. And that became kind of a famous saying, too. A lot of Ranger fans would say that all the time. And we'd actually say it as players, too. Shoot the puck, Barry. Well, Ellen, I think, if I'm correct, we had Sam on the show. Or we could get him on again. But he was great. Sam, some of the guests we've had on have been, like you see Chris Nyland or Phil Esposito, very colorful. But Sam's, and I mean this is a good way, he's totally buttoned down. That's not going to be Sam Rose at all. But he's such a legendary guy. It is great to have him on. So, it was great to have JD on too. We've had some good guests. I don't know if you remember, unfortunately he's passed now, but we got to be pretty good friends with Clark Gillies. And it was interesting, being an Islander guy. And he contacted me. I think he messaged me on Facebook here, and we knew each other, but not like we're buddies or something like that. And he asked him. It wasn't like he asked, like he was like a little kid too. And it was I mean that in a good way. He was very, Tommy, can I go on the show? Like I want to come on the show. And he was great when he was on too, talking about old stories. And I thought it was pretty cool too to hear Clark talk about how he felt in that year of '84, I believe it was, Kenny Morris scored that game-winning, series-winning goal in overtime. That he felt, and that was what would have been their fifth Stanley Cup that they ultimately lost to the Oilers. He thought that if we had won that series, that we could have gone to the finals and possibly won it too. So it was pretty cool to hear him say that and again tell those stories. And it's just one of those things, you don't really know the guy when you're playing against him, and you always have this opinion of him based on how he acts on the ice. But then when you get to know the person, like, he was a great man. And unfortunately, we lost him quickly after that. But we should actually get maybe some more. I'd like to get Bob Nystrom on too. So we had that Ranger alumni game against the Islanders about a month ago, and he was there. I didn't see him, but people said he was there. So, yes, we're definitely getting Pierre LaRouche. I was in Pittsburgh. What was that? Oh God, that was about a month ago. I was in Pittsburgh and saw Pierre there. It's fantastic to see him. We had lived together for a while in training camp. One year, he'd stayed at my home, and we got pretty close. And he's a character, and he was the same way. Unfortunately, his wife had battled cancer for a long time, and he just lost her, like a few years ago, whatever. But a big-hearted guy, loved playing the game, and just loves life. He's one of those guys you see him, he's just always having fun. His famous line too. Didn't go over too well, but he wasn't known for his back check. He wasn't as bad defensively as maybe people perceived it to be. But he was asked one time when he was in Montreal, and I think he was like a 50-goal scorer or whatever. And I think they asked him, and he said about back checking. He said, "Listen, they're paying me $250,000 a year to score goals. So if they want me to back check, they can pay me another $250,000 a year." I remember hearing that. I was like, "Oh God, it's funny." Who else? Eddie Mio will be on the show. He'd be a cool guest. He is. Eddie. We make fun of Eddie all the time, and I hope everybody knows he's a great guy. He was Wayne Gretzky's best man, and sometimes a blessing, and sometimes that's a curse, right? Because everybody's going to pick on, like, what are you doing, riding on Wayne's coattails and everything. And we do the funny scene. I'll never forget it too. When we thought of it, where he had this hatchback and car. And so it was himself, Ron Grescher, Ron Duguay, and Barry Beck all lived in the city. So we're leaving Rye Playland. That was Eddie's car. They were going to drive in. So Barry Beck jumped in the driver's seat. Ron Duguay was in the passenger seat, and Grescher's in the back seat. So no other seats available. So Eddie had to have his feet hanging out the hatchback. So we're all sitting there watching this Eddie's car, and he's sitting in the back. So that was kind of the never-ending view we had at Eddie's. That's why we call him Potato Head. Well, we call him Potato Head because he would get mad at us for calling names. His head looks like a potato. So I played with this guy in LA, Glenn Healy, and he's a funny man. The thing is, though, all you'd have to do is just ask him one question and then sit back for the next hour and he'll talk. So there's not a whole lot else going on. He's funny. He's running the NHL Alumni Association right now. And I've had some people that wanted to get a hold of him. So we've had some conversations. And it's the same way. He's hilarious. You have to prepare. Like they wanted to discuss some business items with him. But you have to kind of weather the storm a little bit while, Glenn does his comedy stick. How about Robert Picard as a guest? Poor Robert Picard. Robert Picard had a great career. He's a tough guy too and everything. But people bring that up because I tell a story about how my first year in the league, first game in the National Hockey, got through training camp, the first regular season game, I shot the puck in my own net. JD should have stopped it, but I don't know why he didn't. And then, so I'm thinking, we played right away the next night in Toronto, and I'm thinking to myself, Freddie Shearer's the coach. I played terrible in Boston, shot the puck in my own net, and now we're going into Toronto. And I said, I've got to do something there, else my dream of playing the National Hockey is going to be gone. So skated in front of the bench with the puck, and Robert Picard butt ended me. So I remember thinking at the time, I cannot let this happen. I don't care. I'm sorry, guy. It's not about you. It's about me playing the NHL. So I stood up and just suckered him and knocked him out cold. Told me to get a place to stay after the game. So, but that was a really interesting moment because I remember the thought process in my head was, I feel bad about this, but it's coming, and I got to play in the NHL. So my poor mother was in the building too. God rest her soul. And my father was happy. He's a big old farm boy and everything. He thought it was fantastic his son did that. But my mother was, she's the one that drove me to practice all the time and everything. Who else do we want? Joe Gatton. Steve Valiquette, he dances like me. He's not as good a dancer as me. Susan, what's right? I mean, you were on fire today, and all of a sudden you just make that comment. When did you see him dance? I don't think he dances like me. Laurie Boschman. I don't know. Did Mel ever explain? Did Mel fight him or something? I can't remember why he hated him so much, but he just have a disdain for him. George McPhee would be a great guest. I don't think he would come on because of the role he plays now. But he's good. George is good. He's a good storyteller and everything. Here's a Ratso Sloman. That'd be interesting to get Ratso Sloman on. So Ratso wrote the book On Thin Ice. So apparently they'd gone to the finals in '79, and the next year I didn't realize it, but Gresh tells me it was the team themselves, the upper management of the team, wanted him to write this book. And Ratso was a great guy. Came to the team at that time. I was not on the team. I came later at the end of the year and told him, he said, listen, I'm going to follow you everywhere and I'm going to write everything that I see. So he told him, but I think a lot of guys just didn't realize that he meant that literally. And so there's some really funny stories in there. One of the best stories is Ray Markham was a good guy. He's this big guy. He was up and down for the minors. And Steve Vickers had a great sense of humor too. And he was asked about Ray Markham, and he said he's strong enough to lift a tractor, but he's not smart enough to start it. And I think this is one of those things that he would say, and not realizing that it's going to be put in the book. Now you've got to sit in the locker room with this guy after you just said that about him. I'm sure they would laugh it off. It's not that big of a deal, but okay. Let me see here. The new show, the show videos of him after Rangers go at the MSC. Yeah. But Susan, let's be serious. Like my dancing compared to that, what he does there. I mean, he's like a minor leaguer compared to my dancing. Dancing in front of 18,000 people. A minute. Come on, Susan, a minute. George McPhee here. George McPhee was an all-time great, one of the all-time favorites among Ranger fans, more because I think he was just this guy that wasn't very big at all. If you saw him off the ice, you'd think, really? But he'd fight anybody and just fight him. I saw him, he fought Dave Longeman one time at the Garden and just destroyed him, cut him. He was hurt bad. And I know I've said this many times, but I played against George in college. I think he was a year younger than me. And he's running around like a little rat and everything. And there's no fighting in college. So I'm like, who is this guy? And I thought it was the big, toughest guy on the planet and didn't know who George was. And then when he came to the Rangers, he played in the minors for a little bit, came up, brought him up for a game against the Islanders, and he squared off against Bob Nystrom. And I felt like I've got to jump in because this kid's going to get killed. I thought maybe he doesn't know who Bob Nystrom is. And so I jumped in the middle of him, and George is mad at me. He's just, what are you doing? Like I'm going, are you kidding me? I saved your life just now. And they got out of the box, and they two of them went at it, and it was a heck of a fight. It was, and I'm looking at going, okay, I guess I didn't know who you were. And he went on to, he had some great fights about Rick Tocchet and everything. People talk about it, and he took on anybody. He's one of those kids, a little bit like Lindgren in that, somewhat different, but in that he was probably too small for his heart, right? He just would fight anybody, do anything, and he'd end up getting hurt a lot. So, but a great player. Okay. We need a prediction for tonight. So I think it's going to be a low scoring game. I do think that Vasilevsky will play better, but I still think the Rangers are going to score on him. I think the Rangers power play is going well now. So we're going to see a couple of power play goals. I'm going to say that the final is going to be 3-1 for the Rangers, but a good hockey game, real nail biter. Ellen has got 3-2. Gino has got 4-1. So I think we're all in that same category. I think it's interesting. There's so much belief in Shesterkin now that all predictions are like that 1 or 2 goals, which makes sense. I mean, it's kind of, I don't think it's irrelevant how the Rangers play. They still have to play well. There's all the good players that Tampa still has on the team. Steven Stamkos is still there, Kucherov, all these guys can still score goals. But it's just that Shesterkin. And again, he seems to find a way, and he's better when there's high 30s, low 40s shots against. Like I mean, it doesn't happen often to the Rangers where they only have like 20 shots against, but he needs to get in the game and have more shots. He plays better, so I think that'll happen again tonight. All right, so that's the prediction for the Rangers. Colorado plays again tomorrow night in Edmonton this time. I predicted that Calgary was going to win. I was really surprised that Edmonton won that series, and it's not easy, but. Yeah, so easier than I thought they would. First of all, I didn't think they'd win the series. So I'm counting them out. I don't think they can beat Colorado. But having said that, a big part is going to be Smith in goal has to play better. They have to get goaltending. Maybe they don't come back to him, but they need somebody that can really hold Colorado to 2 or 3 goals. Because again, Colorado's got that powerhouse offense themselves. I just don't think that Edmonton's got the goaltending to do that. Now, I do think McDavid and Draisaitl will play better because now they're going back to Edmonton, so the line change matchups are now more in favor of Edmonton Oilers. They get the last change. Colorado, when they're in Colorado, obviously can put the players they want out there against McDavid and Draisaitl. And I think one of the questions is, will Draisaitl and McDavid play together, or do they split them up? The argument about coaches sometimes is, if you put them together, that's your only really good offensive line. I don't think, and again, I was wrong on Kane there too, Evander Kane. He's played well, like offensively, big power forward. I don't think I gave him enough credit there, and and obviously it's a short-term thing, but he hasn't seemed to cause any problems off the ice. But he's playing well too, so that gives him some more depth. But I don't know if Edmonton's got enough. But who would you rather see? Okay, as the great Boomer Esiason says, we got to be careful here not to touch the money, which means you can't get too far ahead of ourselves. If the Rangers were to win against Tampa, which I believe they can, it'd be great to see. I think the Rangers have a better chance of winning against Edmonton. Plus, it would also be great to see Connor McDavid and Draisaitl play in here at Madison Square Garden for the Stanley Cup. But at the same time, listen, Colorado. Again, I'm not totally sold on Colorado's goaltending, although that young goaltender played well last night. I don't know where Kemper is as far as being hurt when he comes back. But again, with the Rangers, they find a way to win. And Colorado's got a bunch of talents too, like we talked about Makar and Nathan McKinnon. So I mean, the star power, like right now in the semifinals and in the finals, no matter who's in it, is fantastic. It's great for the league. It's great hockey. So I hope they do. Oh, whoever gets there. And the Rangers would have home ice. Susan, you've wavered a little bit today. Maybe I thought maybe you were feeling well. You've a little bit had a couple of comments that are off, but I admire you. You're like the Ranger team. Even if you had like a bad shift here and there, you keep battling back. So good job. All right, everybody. So we'll be back. There's a lot of stuff going on. Gresh has been busy with stuff. So we're going to try to get back, and again, it's tougher during the playoffs here. We're going to try to get back on that schedule, being pretty consistent or very consistent with Thursday at 2:00. And again, Larry's Larry. But again, this one, I won't disclose what's happened to him, but he had some family issues that were pretty serious. So, but all's well with him now, and we will get him back to the show back if we want. Maybe we don't want him back in the show. I don't know. Let me see here. Billy, just the final little note from the Big Billy. Rumor has it the actual reason you're not going to the game tonight is the Rangers need to give your tickets to real. You know what, Bill? Yeah, pretty accurate. Yeah. They said, okay, so let's line up all the players that are here that want tickets, and we'll put them in order of importance. And no, Bill, that's not the case. We're working before. And then we're coming back so we get home, watch the game, have a cocktail at home, sit in the back deck. All right, everybody, have fun tonight with the Ranger game. I tell you, the Ranger fans, I know if you're not at the game, it's not matter, but the Ranger fans that are at the game have really played a huge role in the team's performance. The team obviously has to go out and play, but the fans have just been, like I mentioned before, the whole Shesterkin thing and supporting him and the way the team, I think the fans see now too that it doesn't matter what's going on in the game. They may be down in the game, they may be down in the series, but this team just won't quit. They find a way to get it done. And that's what the Ranger fans love. And I think the fans feel like they're a part of it too, and they are. So let's keep it going. We will be at, Gresh and I will be at the viewing party there's a Sunday viewing party for the 3:00 game at Woolman Ice Rink in Central Park. We will be at that as well. So if you want to stop by that one. So everybody have a fun time. Great. Let's go one game at a time, one shift at a time, one period at a time, one game at a time. So this game is the one we need to worry about. It'd be fantastic to win both games at home and then head back down there and see what happens. But again, we will be at Woolman Ice Rink for the 3:00 game on Sunday. Everybody have a great weekend. Talk to you soon.